I read this prayer many years ago, and I've prayed it myself many times since. Lord, help me to believe in the darkness what you've shown me so clearly in the light. Up to this point in the Psalms, we've seen David many times really struggling when he's suffering. He says, Lord, why do you hide yourself from me? Lord, why are you so silent? Lord, how much longer are you going to allow this to go on? But every time, underneath the pain, underneath the doubts and the confusion, we can see at least a bit of the confidence and the hope that David has in him, because he knows who God is. He knows the truth, and he is clinging to that truth with everything that he has. We can cling to the truth in difficult times as well, because God blesses us with moments and with entire seasons in our lives where the truth is so clear. We can really see him for who he is, and in those times we have no doubt that his word is absolutely true. Sometimes we hear it in a sermon. We feel it and just know it to be true in a time of prayer or worship. We see it to be reality in the life of a godly friend. And the Lord takes it all and he uses it to give us a clear picture of who he is. And he takes it and drives a confidence into a deep place in our heart where we can access it later when we need it. Moments of pure light that give us something to cling to when the moments of deep darkness come. Psalm 21 was a moment of pure light for David. You just see him gushing with joy and with confidence and with certainty about who God is. And he needed that Psalm 21 season, because in Psalm 22, the darkness comes rushing in like a flood. In a cry that Jesus would echo from the cross nearly 1,000 years later, David begins the psalm by saying, my God, why have you forsaken me? Now don't get this wrong, David hadn't lost his faith. He was just being honest with God about how he felt in the moment. Now, many of you have been taught a wrong theology that we can't do that we have to pretend that nothing hurts, that we have to pretend that we're not struggling because you've been told that tears and struggle and doubts and confusion show God that you don't have faith. Well, the Bible disagrees with you in a big way, because the Bible is filled with the lives of godly people who are struggling honestly. And in Psalm 22, David, and remember this is the one God called a man after his own heart, David is really struggling. But in the midst of the darkness, you see him clinging to the confidence that he was shown in the light. He says, I cry to you, Lord, but you don't answer. Yet, he says in verse 2, you are holy. He goes on to say, God, I know you never disappointed the forefathers. You are always faithful to them. God, I know that you have been with me since the moment that I was born, even in the most difficult times. Then in verses 12 to 18, he goes on to describe just how deep this pain he's feeling really is. And he doesn't know it, but he is prophesying exactly what Jesus would go through on the cross. But even though the pain is so great, this is really important, David clings to what he knows to be true. He says in verse 24 that even in the worst kind of suffering, even when it seems like God has turned his face away, the truth is God never turns his face away, and he always hears our cries. In the midst of the darkness, David is clinging to what he knew to be true in the light. Then in Psalm 23, David gives us this comprehensive statement of trust in the love and the faithfulness of God. It's not a response to any particular circumstance, either good or bad. It's a confidence that he has based on a fixed reality of who God is, regardless of the circumstances. The Lord, David says, is my shepherd, and therefore I am absolutely certain that he will always be faithful to lead me to the place where I find life. That includes the difficult times. He doesn't say that the Lord will keep me from the darkness. He says that the Lord will keep me and walk with me in the midst of the most dangerous and most terrifying types of darkness. Even if I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, he says, I am confident and I don't need to fear evil for one simple reason, because I know you're with me. He doesn't say that God won't allow my enemies to get near me. He promises that he will be my joy even when my enemies are surrounding me. David is saying, I believe that in the darkness, you're the same God that I've seen in the light. And I know that in both good times and bad times, your goodness and your unfailing love will lead me, will follow me, and will walk beside me. Lord, help us to believe in the darkness what you've shown us so clearly to be true in the light.